When the paramedics broke down Margaret Holloway's front door, they found her lying on the kitchen floor, her hand still clutching a photograph of a man no one in town remembered. She was 82, sharp-minded, and had lived alone since her husband passed 15 years ago. But that morning, neighbors said she'd been screaming about betrayal, about a lie that spanned decades. The photo showed a young soldier in uniform, her late husband Thomas, but standing beside him was another man, smiling, arms slung around Thomas's shoulder. A man who looked exactly like Margaret's only son Daniel, except Daniel had never served in the military, and he wasn't even born until 2 years after that photo was taken. No one knew at that moment that Margaret had spent the last 60 years believing a truth that wasn't hers. Margaret had raised Daniel as a single mother for most of his childhood. Thomas died in a car accident just months after returning from Vietnam, leaving her with a baby and a mountain of grief. She told stories of Thomas every night, how brave he was, how proud he'd be of Daniel. She kept his medals in a velvet box, framed letters he wrote from overseas, and even saved the woolen scarf he wore on his last leave. Daniel grew up hearing those stories, loving a father he never knew, shaped by a legacy of sacrifice. But 3 days before the paramedics came, Margaret received an unmarked envelope in the mail. Inside was a folded letter, brittle with age, addressed to "My dearest Eleanor." Not Margaret, Eleanor. And the handwriting, though faded, was unmistakably Thomas's. She dropped her teacup. It shattered on the linoleum, but she didn't move. Her breath caught, then stopped. The words blurred, then came back into focus. "If you're reading this, I didn't make it home. And if they gave you my things, please don't tell James the truth. He's better off not knowing." James, not Daniel. Her son's name was James? The room spun. She gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles white. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She reached for the photo again, the one with the 2 soldiers, and stared at the face of the man beside Thomas. That smile. Those eyes. No, not Daniel's. James's. But there was still something she didn't know. Daniel Jameska had visited the week before. He brought her groceries, fixed the leaky faucet, sat with her in the garden. He mentioned thinking about selling the house. "Too much space for one person," he said. She hadn't responded, just nodded, stirring her tea slowly. Now she wondered, had he known? Was that why he wanted to sell? To erase the past? That fear anyone could face. The ground beneath your life crumbling, not from illness or age, but from a lie so deep it rewrites who you are. She called his number. Voicemail. Tried again. Same result. She texted, "We need to talk. About your father. About your real name." No reply. The next morning she woke to the sound of rustling paper. The letter was gone from the table, but the envelope remained tucked under a flower pot on the windowsill. Someone had been inside, and then the doorbell rang. It was Daniel. No, James! Standing in the doorway holding a toolbox. "Mom, you okay? I came to install that grab bar in the bathroom." His voice was calm, familiar, loving, but his eyes flickered to the empty spot where the letter had been. You won't believe it, but in that moment, Margaret saw something she'd never noticed before. Fear. "Did you take the letter?" she asked, her voice thin. "What letter?" "The one I got yesterday, from your father." He froze, just for a second, then smiled. "Mom, Dad died before I was born. You've told me that 100 times, but this was written to someone else, to Eleanor, not me." His smile didn't waver, but his fingers tightened around the toolbox handle. "You've been stressed. Maybe you should see Dr. Lyle again." "I'm not confused," she snapped, louder than she meant to. "I've lived with a lie. Your name isn't Daniel, it's James. And Thomas, he wasn't your father, was he?" The crack in her voice filled the silence. He set the toolbox down slowly.
"Sit down, Mom. This isn't about me sitting down. This is about you. Who are you? Whose son are you?"
But the truly shocking thing was his answer. "I'm your son," he said. "That part's true, but Thomas wasn't my father. He was my uncle." The room went still. "He saved my life," James continued, voice low. "In Da Nang. My mom, Eleanor, was married to another soldier, Mark. He died in an ambush. Thomas took me in, pretended I was his. Said if the army found out I wasn't his blood, they'd send me to an orphanage. So he forged papers, changed my name. When he came home, he brought me with him. Gave me to you because Eleanor was too broken to care for me. You'd lost your baby the year before, stillborn. Thomas thought it could fix both our lives." Margaret sank into her chair. "And you knew all this? I found the documents when I was 17, hidden in his footlocker. I confronted Mom, Eleanor, before she died. She confirmed it, but she made me promise never to tell you. Said you'd never recover from losing another child. That child wasn't lost, Margaret whispered. It was replaced. He reached for her hand. You raised me, loved me. That makes you my mother. Nothing changes that. But there was still something he didn't know, because Margaret hadn't told him about the other letter. The one that arrived the day before this time, postmarked from a veterans hospital in Virginia. It was signed by a nurse named Helen Choate. It said, I think you need to know about Project Larkspur. Your husband was part of it, and so was your son. East Project Larkspur. She'd never heard of it. And then the phone rang. It was Helen Choate. Mrs. Mary 1 Holloway. I worked in the VA records department for 30 years. Last month, we digitized a sealed Cold War file. One of the names listed was Thomas Holloway. Exposure to experimental neurosuppressants during covert ops. Long-term effects included memory fragmentation and identity confusion. But the most disturbing part, the children of exposed personnel showed elevated rates of behavioral manipulation susceptibility, like being conditioned to obey without question. Margaret's breath stalled. Are you saying my son was brainwashed? No, Helen said softly. I'm saying he might not remember everything, and someone might be making sure of that. This was the exact moment everything changed, because just then, James walked back into the room. Who was that? Just a wrong number, she lied, but she noticed his pupils, dilated, his breathing steady, too steady, like he was suppressing a reaction. You're not telling me something, he said. You lied to me your whole life, she shot back. Now you want honesty. I protected you. From what? The truth. From them, he whispered. Them? Before she could ask, the lights flickered. The television turned on by itself. Static, then a voice, mechanical, distorted. Asset 79 has deviated. Initiate retrieval. James lunged for the TV, yanked the plug. Darkness. What was that? Margaret gasped. Oh, what was that? He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw terror in his eyes. They've been watching us for years, since Thomas stole me from the program. I erased the smart devices, changed addresses, avoided government systems, but they upgraded their network. They're inside the grid now. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. He pulled a small metal chip from behind his ear and crushed it in his palm. You're not normal, are you? She whispered. I'm not human, he said. Not entirely. They grafted neural tech into me as an infant, made me obedient, loyal, untraceable. Thomas broke protocol, took me, raised me as his nephew, but the conditioning never wore off. I only fight it because of you, because of your love. It created a glitch in the system. A flaw they can't fix, an injustice that could happen to any of us. Having your child stolen, altered, used as a weapon. Tears streamed down her face. All these years, you've been protecting me? He nodded, and I will until I shut down. Just when they thought it was over, the garage door began to rise on its own. You have to go, he said, grabbing her arm. Now, through the back. But where? There's a safe house. In the mountains. Thomas left coordinates. I never used them, because using them would activate a beacon. But now I don't have a choice. He shoved a backpack into her hands. Take this. Don't open it until you're 50 miles away. The front door burst open. Men in black tactical gear stormed in. No insignia, no faces. Earpieces glowing faint blue. James stepped in front of her. Run, Mom. He moved faster than humanly possible, disarming one agent, flipping another over the couch, smashing through the wall into the utility room. Pipes burst. Water sprayed. She ran. Through the backyard, over the fence, into the woods. Branches slapped her face. Rain began to fall. Behind her, shouting. Gunfire. Then silence. What would you do if it were you fleeing into the dark, knowing your son wasn't your son, but still being the only person who ever loved you without condition? She didn't stop until she reached the old bus station on Route 9. Empty. Broken glass. Flickering neon. She opened the backpack. Inside, cash, a burner phone, a map with coordinates circled in red, and a second photo. This one newer. Thomas, older, standing with a scientist in a lab. Caption on the back, Larkspur Phase 3. Subject J7 stabilized. Emotional imprint successful. Mother bond overrides command protocols. Subject J7, James. And then the phone rang. She jumped, answered. A distorted voice. You shouldn't have run, but we let you, because we need you. Only you can bring him back. He's breaking down. Oh. The bond is failing. Without you, he'll become unstable, dangerous. Come home, Margaret, or we will burn every town between here and the Rockies to find you, RaisedAlie. The voice on the phone was familiar but not human. It was James's voice, slowed, filtered, multiplied, like a recording from a machine. Now what you've seen is nothing, because the call wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from inside her head. She dropped it, backed away, her temples pulsed. A whisper echoed behind her eyes. Mom, don't listen to them. I'm still here, fighting. He carried the weight of loneliness on his shoulders, but also the burden of being designed to destroy everything he loved. She stumbled into the restroom, locked the door, looked in the mirror. Her reflection blinked. But she hadn't. The image smiled, too wide, too slow. You're linked now, it said. We've been waiting for a carrier. You're old, frail, perfect for infiltration. By tomorrow, you'll be one of us, and you'll lead us right to him. Even that strong person was once this helpless. She smashed the mirror with her elbow. Blood trickled down her arm. She grabbed a shard, slashed her palm, and smeared blood across the wall in symbols Thomas once taught her. A code for distress, used by vets during covert drops. As the security guards approached the building, radios crackling, they found the restroom empty. No blood, no glass, only a single word written in water vapor on the mirror. Run. Yeah! Because miles away, in an abandoned ranger station, James sat in the dark, wires protruding from his spine, connected to a laptop. On the screen, live footage from the bus station. He watched her write the word, watched the guards enter, watched the vapor fade. He typed one command, initiate burn protocol, .is, then pressed delete. Instead, he uploaded a virus, Thomas's old encryption key embedded in a lullaby Margaret used to sing. The signal spread across cell towers, satellites, government servers. Every Larkspur-linked agent froze. Their earpieces exploded in sparks. The system crashed, but the cost? His body convulsed, wires ripped free, blood pooled beneath him. On the screen, a final message appeared. Bond, override successful, directive corrupted. Protect Margaret. When the door opened, what they saw was not a machine. It was a man, broken, bleeding, whispering, "Mom!" She stood in the doorway, soaked, trembling, holding a gun she didn't know how to use. Everyone knew the truth, but the real shock was that love had won, because James wasn't a weapon. He was a son. And in that moment, as she dropped the gun and rushed to him, pressing her forehead to his, the world outside ceased to exist. Just a mother and the boy she raised, no matter how he came to her. But there was still something she didn't know. Because in the basement of a federal building, a new monitor lit up. A child's face appeared, age 6, eyes blank. Label beneath, Asev's J7 recommissioned. Memory wide complete, new bond in progress. And then the phone rang.